Padre Pio named the most sinful signs of the zodiac. Who among us actually bears the mark of sin without even knowing it? Which zodiac signs, according to Saint Padre Pio, are prone to the darkest passions, spiritual pride, envy, destructive lust, and secret lies? The answer can shock you, because we are not talking about the guesses of astrologers, but about the direct insight of a man who was called a living prophet. This video is not for the weak. We will reveal who Padre Pio called the bearers of spiritual danger, those who bring temptation and temptation into this world. But we will also tell you why these people are given the most difficult, but also the most important path of purification. Watch this video to the end if you are ready to learn the truth that they prefer to pass over in silence. Subscribe to the channel. Here we talk about things that are not written in popular horoscopes. And in the comments, write whether you agree with the opinion of Padre Pio, and whether among your friends there are those whose darkness hides behind a mask of light. Ready to find out whose soul is struggling with the most ancient sins of the zodiac? Then let's begin. The first sign is Gemini. Among all those whom Padre Pio called spiritually restless, Gemini occupy a special place. Their sin is not in their actions, but in the multiplicity of their inner essence. One sign, two principles, an infinite number of masks. They can so masterfully rebuild themselves that they themselves do not always distinguish truth from play. And this is what makes them dangerous in the spiritual sense. Not because they wish evil, but because temptation too easily enters their consciousness under the guise of curiosity. Gemini are masters of seduction with words. Their speech is like a living organism, smooth, fast, enticing. They know how to convince, to dissuade, and at the same time not experience a drop of doubt. Their intellect is sharp, their language is flexible, their logic is elusive. And behind this dexterity lies a sin, a distortion of the truth for the sake of their own comfort. They do not deceive for the sake of profit. They deceive because they can. Gemini's energy is easily captured by others. They absorb everything that comes into their field of vision, opinion, style, desires, principles. But they also quickly reject all of this. Their changeability is the sin of inconstancy, which destroys trust. Padre Pio pointed out, there is nothing more dangerous than a soul that says yes without meaning anything. For Gemini, this is a daily practice. Their attraction to information, rumors, secrets makes them conductors of spiritual noise. They can unknowingly destroy reputations without bearing a sense of guilt. After all, everything was just words. Their tongue runs faster than their conscience, and sometimes their conscience does not have time to remind them that what was said cannot be taken back. And this is their danger. Gemini can penetrate any system, any community, any format. They seem convenient, pleasant, easy to communicate with. But as soon as they feel that they are losing interest, they leave without looking back. Their sin is spiritual consumption without the intention of staying. They seek novelty, not because the old is spoiled, but because they do not know how to hold attention. And this makes them cold-hearted, even if they are outwardly radiant. For Gemini, everything is a game until the reckoning comes. They rarely think about the consequences, because their consciousness lives in the constant now. But sin accumulates, not in action but in empty words, promises, elusive truths. Padre Pio said, "It is the Gemini who finds it most difficult to stop and look inside, because there is a mirror there, not an answer, and this is their main spiritual difficulty." The second sign is Libra. In the eyes of Padre Pio, Libra was considered dangerous not because of aggression, but because of their commitment to balance at any cost. Their sin is the desire for balance even when it is necessary to choose a side. Libra is ready to sacrifice truth for comfort, justice for external peace, principles for the absence of conflict. And this subtle, almost imperceptible betrayal of oneself is the most poisonous of all. Their politeness is like armor. They hide irritation behind a smile, discontent behind a compliment, fatigue behind a delicate silence. Libras sin with aesthetics. For them, how a situation looks is more important than what lies behind it. They prefer a beautiful lie to an ugly truth, and they make this choice again and again, even if they know where it leads. Libras are masters of manipulation without pressure. They convince without imposing. They guide without ordering. And this is their subtle spiritual flaw. They are able to convince a person to go against themselves, gently, imperceptibly, but absolutely effectively. Their verbal smoothness disarms. But behind it is cold calculation, not for evil, for convenience. They do not like to take responsibility. This is their Achilles heel. Libras can hesitate for a long time, shifting decisions to others and eventually agreeing with what is convenient for the majority. Their sin is inaction at a time when decisiveness is required. Padre Pio said, "Libra's neutrality can lead to the death of the soul, because silence is also a choice, and Libras are often silent, especially where the truth needs to be told." Their attachment to external recognition makes them vulnerable to vanity. They strive to please, to be understood, to be good. But in this craving for acceptance, they lose themselves. Their spiritual weakness is dependence on other people's opinions. Libras will justify even their mistakes if they understand that otherwise they will be rejected. And this is self-deception turned into a lifestyle. Libra is a sign that can lie to itself beautifully, not abruptly, not obviously, but through compromises, admissions, quiet concessions. But it is these concessions that become their sin, because they happen not for the sake of love, but for the sake of comfort. And convenience, as Padre Pio said, is the first step towards forgetting the truth. The third sign is Cancer. In the archives of the monastery where Padre Pio spent hours in prayer, one phrase has been preserved that he said almost in a whisper: "The heaviest burden of conscience I feel from those born under the sign of Cancer." This thought was not said in condemnation. It was a statement of spiritual fact. Cancer is a sign that hides incredible sensitivity, but it is precisely in this that the root of its falls lies. Representatives of this sign often hide their true intentions under the mask of goodwill. They know how to manipulate emotions, imposing a sense of guilt on others just to maintain control. It is Cancer who is able to bring a loved one to tears and then be the first to offer consolation, creating the illusion of care. He violates boundaries not with shouting, but with affection, forcing you to believe that he is doing good. Padre Pio believed that Cancer's sin is in his attachments. This sign too often puts relatives above conscience, justifying any lie for the sake of preserving the family. He can live in self-deception for years, just to not destroy the picture of external well-being. There is a lot of good in his heart, but it is often closed with offensive grievances, and then love turns into a weapon. Cancer knows how to remain silent for a long time, accumulate irritation, and at the most unexpected moment, throw out everything accumulated. But not directly. He does not accuse, He punishes with silence, detachment, emotional coldness. This is his sin, the rejection of directness. He prefers subtle hints, omissions, grievances that grow into a wall. And when it grows too high, he himself finds himself alone behind it. Padre Pio said, "The sin of Cancer is fear. Fear of losing, fear of telling the truth, fear of being rejected. And this fear makes him deceitful even with himself. He knows how to deceive so much that he believes in lies more than in facts. He stops distinguishing good from selfishness because he believes that he does everything for the sake of love. But love without truth is a trap, and he drives himself and those who love him into this trap. The path of purification for Cancer is honesty, not ostentatious, not emotional, but real. Recognizing one's weaknesses, accepting responsibility for the consequences of soft manipulation, the ability to ask for forgiveness, not only with tears, but also with actions. Only in this way can he escape from the captivity of his own illusions. Padre Pio did not condemn. He prayed for people like Cancer, for those whose hearts are full of love, but who confuse love with addiction, for those who fear a breakup more than falling into sin. And he knew that it is precisely such people, having overcome themselves, who can become the brightest, but only when they decide to admit that their kindness can be a mask, and redemption begins with an internal revolution. The fourth sign is Scorpio. Once, after hearing a confession, Padre Pio left the confessional in complete silence and said, "There are souls that take darkness with them because they love power too much." Since then, he has said more than once that people born under the sign of Scorpio are capable of great depth and great fall. Their strength is in knowing the weak points of others. Their weakness is that they use this knowledge. Scorpio rarely commits open offenses. His sins are subtle, calculating, and wrapped in external righteousness. He can command respect, be charismatic, but inside he often acts out of a desire to control. He tests, experiences, provokes. He plays with the emotions of others as with instruments. And not because of cruelty, but because of the fear of losing control. Padre Pio believed that Scorpio is the most experienced in the fight against his inner demons. He easily becomes dependent on power, sex, jealousy, revenge. He does not shout, he remembers. He does not forget, he accumulates. And one day it all comes out in a destructive wave, sweeping away trust, feelings, respect. He can forgive, but he never does it first. And while he is waiting to be persuaded, time turns his heart into ice. The most dangerous thing is Scorpio's ability to seem like a victim, when in fact he is the initiator of the conflict. He knows how to provoke and then build an image of the sufferer. He enjoys drama, because in it he feels his power. This is why Padre Pio warned, do not succumb to the charm of Scorpio if you are not sure that his feelings are real. He is able to pretend even in front of saints. His sin is not in passion, as is commonly believed. His sin is in the deliberate manipulation of the feelings of others. He knows how to convince, persuade, seduce with a word, a look, silence. He breaks down other people's boundaries, calling it the truth. He hurts, saying that this is how it should be. And this is his greatest danger. He believes that he does it out of love. But love without respect is control. The path of purification for Scorpio is humility, not public, but internal. The realization that no one has to be vulnerable under his observation. The recognition that even if he sees everything, this does not give him the right to interfere with someone else's soul. Padre Pio prayed for people like Scorpio because he knew that their path is the most difficult. They know how to change, but only after destruction. They need to fall to understand. They need to lose to appreciate. They need to forgive to stop taking revenge. Padre Pio knew that if Scorpio overcomes pride, he will become a savior. But until that moment, he will remain a figure of shadows, someone who knows everything, but does not always choose the light. The fifth sign is Aries. Aries in Padre Pio's list occupied the place of a special type of sinners, those who go straight for the fence without looking back. Their sin is in the impulse, in the uncontrolled desire to act, to dominate, to achieve. They do not wait for signs. They do not listen to warnings. They do not seek advice. They see the goal and go towards it, without thinking about those who will be hit. Aries are the bearers of strength, but not always. Wisdom. Their passion easily turns into aggression, their desire for justice into cruelty, their directness into rudeness, and they justify all this with sincerity. Padre Pio believed that frankness without love is a form of spiritual violence. And Aries has exactly this kind of frankness: caustic, sharp, sometimes destructive. This sign knows how to suppress others without pressure, with one look, one word, one step. They do not need conflicts. They create a field where they have no equal. Their ego is not pride in the classic sense. It is the conviction that they always know what is best. Their sin is the refusal to doubt. Aries believe in their rightness to the end. Even when they are wrong, they are easily inspired by an idea, but rarely think about the consequences. Their actions are swift, often abrupt. They can offend, crush, destroy, not because they want to, but because they do not stop. Their inner energy does not know how to stop, and this makes them destructive, especially for those who are weaker. The spiritual complexity of Aries is in the inability to stop and ask, "Why am I doing this?" They act faster than the thought comes. They demand before they offer. They criticize before they understand. Their sincerity hurts. Their strength presses. Their directness burns. And behind all this, they hide the fear of seeming weak. Aries do not admit mistakes. They will defend their decision to the last, even if everything collapses. Their sin is stubbornness, unconscious, emotional, but unyielding. They prefer to be wrong in action than to be right in thinking. And this, according to Padre Pio, makes them spiritually vulnerable. Their strength can be a blessing, but if left unchecked, it turns into destruction. Aries is capable of leading, inspiring, protecting, but he can also suppress, humiliate, break. It all depends on who he allows himself to be. Padre Pio did not condemn, he warned. And in the case of Aries, the warning sounded especially loudly.